And I'm just like, you stupid motherfuckers. You don't realize what's going on here, do you? All of you dumbasses that are talking about, Reddit's so biased about this. You're the same people that tell me as a commentator that I'm so biased towards XYZ team that, he just loves sucking that no-tail dick. Like all that kind of shit.
Is there any food that you just hard avoid? Or are you like super amicable with eating options?
I was pretty picky when I was younger, and I'm still kind of picky. So yeah, there are definitely some foods that I avoid. I mean, the thing is like you can't really help the fact that you don't like something, right?
Yeah, but I always find myself jealous of people who seem to not have that problem. Like, I think I wouldn't call myself picky anymore, but I definitely was when I was a kid, and I think that my parents like helped enable that. Like, they never really forced me to do something that I didn't want to do, which in one regard really good, but also I feel like if they would have maybe nudged me a little bit more, I could have not been as picky. And there's some things that I still have never gotten over. Like, I think I'll never eat pickles ever. I fucking hate it. I'll never eat like mayo. It always ruins a sandwich. And those are easy examples, but there's a bunch of other things that are not great. But I'm trying to be less picky with food, but I feel like I've hit a plateau. Like, I did a really good job when I was like in my late teens and 20s. I guess I'm still in my 20s. When I'm in my late teens and early 20s of like expanding my food network, but I feel like I'm stuck and I'm not growing it much more.
This is a big life goal for you. This is quite the topic of conversation.
I mean,
you expanding your food taste, and you're disappointed in yourself for not working on it as well. Time to start downing some pickles, dog.
I don't know. I guess I'm just looking. I'm looking for other feedback, because other people around me like seem like it's very easy for them to just be like, yeah, fucking YOLO. I'll just do whatever. But I'm just like a base level more reductive. What the fucking word do I want? Reluctant. That's the one. I found it. Thank you, me. For new stuff. So I didn't know if you had any advice for me, but I guess not. Maybe I'm in a better spot than you are.
No, I'm pretty firmly in the, if you don't like something, then that's it. I mean, like, of course, if I'm really hungry, I'll eat it. Like, I ate a lot of stuff when I was in the military that I was just like, I knew I didn't like it, but it was better because of how hungry I was all the time. So, I was able to just eat it anyway. Anything for the calories at that point in time. But as an adult, like, I know what I like. I know what I don't like. Well, like, taste changes, so I'm still willing to try things. For the most part, I'm willing to try things, right? When I was in the Philippines, like, this is the one thing. Anybody ever calls me picky, all right? I was in the Philippines and I tried balut. Do you know what that is?
I'm well aware of what that is. I used to watch a lot of Travel Channel shows when I was younger, and I feel like if you want to make good TV, it's a very visceral food to just put in front of camera because it looks gross. Mm-hmm. Maybe people will be offended by that, but also just the imagery of it. How did that happen, and why did you say yes to it? Was it like an option? Was it for a bit? Was it for a life achievement? Did the little Xbox notification pop up and you got like 100 points?
No, it was the first time that we did ESL 1 in the Philippines. And that was a great event. It was the first time that we were ever there. It was the first time that I'd been in Southeast Asia. And that was a content piece that they wanted to do, was just various people trying balut, because that is the one thing, like, all the Filipinos like always say that's like the go-to food. Like, oh, have you tried balut? Just because they know it'll put people off. Yeah. It's like the most like extreme, that's relatively common. So they always ask, have you tried balut? And so they wanted to make a content piece out of that. And almost all the talent declined, and I said I was down, and I think Slacks was leading that content piece, so he also did it. And then a couple of like backstage people stepped up and did it as well. Like a couple of production people, like ESL people or something like that. Maybe a couple of Mineski, the Mineski crew. And yeah, pretty much everyone puked or spit it back up except for me. And I think my Slacks might have downed it.
Did you eat the whole
But
thing?
yeah. I did not eat the whole thing, no.
Yeah.
But I did. But I did drink because it's basically like two parts, right? It's like you crack open the egg, and then you drink the liquid, which was totally fine. It was just like egg. It just tasted like scrambled eggs, basically, in a runny form, and then the and then the chick. It's the second part where the chewing is involved, and that part I definitely remember gagging, but I did swallow. I did chew it up, and I did swallow. It was very gross. The texture was not.
I did.
It's like you can get feathers, or like a half-formed beak. It's just like, ugh. I think I got feathers. I think I remember that's what I got.
I really struggle, I think, most with texture as opposed to taste. I think I'm pretty decent at putting up with taste, aside from some specific cases like pickles. But texture is what gets me. So like, even if I'm, dude, your cat's fucking owning the shot right now.
So I put my cat tower behind my desk because I thought it would be just funny to have for the stream, and she's refused to go up there until this moment. My cat's finally like, "Oh, you're doing the podcast now? Let me climb up there finally."
You gotta watch. Fuck, forgive me. You gotta watch the video version for that. What the fuck did I say? Texture. I have a problem with texture. So like getting those feathers or getting a little bit of beak, or like if I'm eating fried chicken and there's like rye bones all over the place, like I almost get more of an icky response to that than I do to a bad taste in my mouth. I've never done Beloit, but I have done pig's eyes.
Okay.
Just like eyeballs that like almost like they're grapes, and it was also for a content piece, and I really didn't want to do it, but I kind of like put myself in a corner because I talked too much shit to back down. Like, it's almost like I was playing a game of chicken with other people, and I was convinced no one else was going to do it. And the second that someone else, did, I'm like, I'm so fucked. I never wanted to do that. And it was like, this is going to put some people off. This whole conversation is going to put a lot of people off. So I'm very sorry. I can't wait to see the metrics for this episode of like the listen time, because it has to drop off a cliff. But what happens when you eat like an eyeball that's an eyeball is that, how can I describe it?
Is it like a juicy fruit that
it's
like you bite into it and it just releases a bunch of liquid?
Yes, except
that's what I'm imagining.
Except the skin, which would be on the outside of like the grape or whatever fruit you're thinking of in this sense, is much thicker. So you really like, it's not like you bite it and then it collapses like 80% of the way and then it breaks. Like, you're getting a much firmer bite down onto the eyeball before it releases its juice. And
so before it does, it's just like a mushy sack that you're just kind of chewing on and breaking.
And the thing is that mine made like a popping noise, and the popping the popping noise was so off-putting. Yeah, I'm not about it. I had a lot of Korean fried chicken tonight, which was pretty good. But it was definitely like not white people fried chicken, in the sense that, the chicken was cut up in a bunch of different ways to where you were eating around more bones, and I just felt lazy. Like, I felt like, man, I wish that I could eat the chicken that I know how to eat. Like, I'm really advanced at eating drumsticks and wings at this point, right? Like, Buffalo Wild Wings has really trained me good. Wingstop's got me by the balls. But as soon as I get a weird piece of chicken, I'm like, how do I eat this? Where's the nuggets? Why is my life so easy?
Yeah, I've tried. I'm trying to think of some of the other things that I've tried. When I've been in China, sometimes we'll get some stuff. The first thing that comes to mind would be cow tongue. I know I've definitely had that.
Cow tongue's
usually. What's that?
Cow tongue's, you can get cow tongue at most Korean barbecue, and oftentimes cow tongue's pretty good.
Yeah.
Also, cow tongue is also a staple in a lot of like Mexican tacos if you do street tacos. So tongue is surprisingly good if you cook it right. But if you just go to the deli section and they have a tongue, normally it's just like the whole tongue, and it looks kind of repulsive.
Yeah. I don't really remember what else. I typically stay away from like anything that can give me some sort of like what's it called, like brain disease. Like I'm not trying to eat like cow brain, you know.
Oh, you don't want
Like,
mad cow?
Yeah, I don't want to get the was it pylons, something like that. I'm confusing with the StarCraft term now.
Yeah, pylons are the StarCraft thing.
Yeah. But whatever the brain disease is that you get.
I'm just thinking about
I ain't trying to
mad
get that.
cow. Yeah, I have a pretty bad peanut allergy, which just makes me an inferior human in general. Like I shouldn't be alive without modern medicine, and that makes it hard when I travel sometimes in places where I don't speak the language to really try and communicate that, and it makes me more gun shy to try food because I don't know when it's like a casual ingredient and stuff. So I had that problem when I was in Shanghai. I'm like slightly nervous to eat a lot of things where I wasn't sure if there was ingredients I didn't know, and I'm like, okay, here we go. Obviously I was fine. I don't even know how much peanuts they cook with, but it's always at the top of mind, and it's always a real pain in the ass.
Yeah, Fogged is definitely allergic to nuts and berries, so he has to skip out on a lot of stuff whenever we're at events and there's catering.
Berries seems like a rough one.
Yeah.
Especially nowadays because, you'll get like so many dates and other types of berries that are just like used as organic sweeteners and like all this Whole Foods Sprouts bullshit. So, man. Anywho, we made people
so
hungry.
you got on this topic because of your dinner? Is that why you got on this topic?
Yeah, I was looking over at the fried chicken I was eating, and I was just, fried chicken isn't weird. Like, I'm not making the argument that, because I ate chicken that was cut differently, I should be rewarded. But I'm always interested in other people's eating habits because I feel like as someone who was a picky eater, it's like a shy topic for me. Like, I feel like once you get past a certain age, it's almost shameful to be like, I'm kind of a picky eater, right? Because you're like,
it's very shameful.
I'm an adult. I should eat whatever I want to. But people don't talk about it. And it's never like when I was a kid, I never saw people in their 30s like just enjoying a good chicken strip, right? And that's not the case. Adults and old people do that all the time. Like people fucking love chicken strips. But like I feel like, oh, this is just like kids' food or stuff that I need to grow out of, and I didn't. And then it took me a while to like come to terms with like people can just eat whatever the fuck they want. So I'm learning. I'm evolving. That's what I'm thinking about.
Yeah, at this point in time, like I'll keep on trying things one off, but once I've tried it and I know I don't like it, then I'm not going back. Like, like why would I? If I'm at like a really nice restaurant, like I'll eat everything there because obviously it's just better.
Yeah,
and it's like a bit of a journey as well, like figuring out how well they made something taste. But
I don't eat a ton.
Other than that, like.
I don't eat a ton of fish, so I got taken to a nice sushi dinner recently, and I'm like, well, I'm going to pretend that I love fish, and I ate a lot of sushi, and it was very nice, and it was kind of expensive, and I didn't pay for it, which is part of the reason I was there, and it was fine. I don't love sushi now, but like I can put up with it.
So what have you been up to since we did the podcast with Ziori, right? That was that a week and a half ago? 2 weeks ago?
That was... No, dude, that was like...
No, we did Kyle. We just did Kyle.
Ago, yeah.
I forgot. Sorry. I blocked that. Blocked that out of my mind.
You blocked it out of your memory? What? I feel like we had very polar different reactions to talking to Kyle because I know that like you've heard these stories and these anecdotes from Kyle before because you guys are around each other so much and you are friends. Whereas I was just very morbidly interested in his ramblings because I'm not exposed to them. So I think that we both had very different outcomes. And as feedback for that episode starts to trickle in, I also think it's interesting to see like how many people enjoyed Kyle versus how many people found it insufferable. And I'm always a fan of the idea of being polarizing. Like it's better to be polarizing than to be neutral. I think we've talked about that before. And I think that Kyle very clearly does a good job at that. There was that surely you saw that Reddit thread. People are like, I didn't think I liked Kyle, but then I liked him after the show, which cool, I guess. I'm glad that you person who made that Reddit thread are listening to the show. I appreciate you. Thank you.
I did not see it. I'm going to have to go find it.
I think if you just search Kyle and then look for past week, it'll surely pop up.
All right.
Yeah, so I think that was actually very, very, very interesting. And then you just blocked it out of your memory, and you're like, "What's been going on for the last week?"
The thing is, I love Kyle, and I've had a lot of good, deep conversations with Kyle, but the first 20 times you have that same conversation with Kyle, it's great. But on the 21st and 22nd and 23rd time, then, it starts to get a bit much. But what I appreciate about Kyle is that he is like so unapologetically, well, I wouldn't say unapologetically, but he is very much him. I like people like what I really appreciate about the friends that I built up in my life is that they're all unique. Like they're very all them in a certain way. If you think about like Blitz, like who else do you know that's really like Blitz? Like
Not many
another
people.
one of my good friends, like Charlie, like like there's a lot of good things about Charlie. There's some bad things about Charlie, but Charlie is like very specifically him. Like I don't know anybody else who's anywhere close to being like Charlie. And I feel like a lot of my friends, like Milk is a great example of that. God, I don't know anybody else like Milk. Milk is something else, but that's what makes the friendship so interesting and so fun. And so I love that Kyle is like, granted, I disagree with his thoughts sometimes on like that God, it stuck with me. That the only part that stuck with me was that trite saying about if you do what you love, you never work a day in your life. And I'm sitting there going like, Kyle, you're like out of the list of people that I've heard complain at events.
Dude, shots fired.
You're not in the top 3, but you're probably 4th or 5th.
Do you? I'm going to ask you after the show's in the top 3. Remind me about that. That's not for you. That's for my knowledge, Mr. Listener, right now, Mrs. Listener, gender neutral. Appreciate it. How do you think you got to a place where so many of your friends are like interestingly unique or have like strong personalities like that? Would you also consider yourself in that group, or do you like wonder?
No.
Like, if everyone around you is like kind of almost a character, and then you're like. I feel like it's rude to say a normal person, but for the sake of this exercise, a normal person. Like, how do you justify like being average Joe in this cohort with people who are all
I
like
don't
could be
really
cartoons?
know. I've thought about that a few times because people may think that I look at that negatively, but I actually think that's a really good thing. That my friends are the way they are. Like I think that's the right. It's kind of weird to say, but I almost feel like it's the right way to be somebody. Just to like fully embrace everything that you are and just be like to the max what you are. And I don't think I am that. And maybe that's part of the reason why I've built up some of these friends is just because I feel like I am very go with the flow. Like I know a couple things about me. I know I'm a very relaxed person. That I'm able to just like meld with a lot of different people. So maybe that's part of the reason. But I don't know. I mostly think I'm just lucky. I think I'm just lucky that I have so many like interesting friends.
Yeah, I guess there's probably
like,
also...
how did we get into this friendship? Like I just answered. You sent me an email, and I was like, "Fuck it, yeah, let's go."
I sent you a DM on Twitter because you were looking for a voice acting agent, and I was like, "I might be able to help you." We don't really talk much. We've talked 3 times, and then a week later, I'm like, Oh, there's this other thing. Is it going to be weird? Now I'm just pestering him twice in a week for no real reason. What the fuck? And then here we are. So yeah, like maybe there's some confounding variable that like a lot of your friends are people who are like inherently on camera talent, and that probably attracts like a certain type of personality or person that tends to shine or be promoted.
I think that's definitely a big part of it. It's like most of my friends are talent, and if they're not talent, then they could be on camera. Milk being like a good example of that, even though he doesn't do it anymore.
Like Charlie.
His personality is actually better off camera than it is on camera, because who he is as a person is not acceptable for any on-camera work ever for anybody.
Well, that makes sense
under any circumstances whatsoever.
That makes sense why he works at 100 Thieves then, right? Because all those people have.
Exactly.
It's a joke for 10 people.
That is why, like, Kyle, in my opinion, I think Kyle is one of the best talent in the Dota 2 scene. He is polarizing, and there are some people that hate him, but a lot of people love him, and that is what makes him so great as like a Dota 2 talent. You want at least one person. You can have too much for sure, but you want at least one person who makes you feel something, who makes strong stands, who has strong opinions on things, and you can either agree with it or disagree with it. I mean, just look at all the sports talk radio. I know Kyle loves that stuff. Kyle loves all of the divisive. I don't watch those shows. The only one that I watch is Inside the NBA.
Well, that's because everyone loves Shaq,
but I know you know some names, right? Like, I feel like it's on like the tip of my tongue, but there's like a couple of there's the shock jock guy that I always see people complaining about, and then there's the debate show.
I mean, you can even just talk about
Shannon Sharp and somebody else.
I don't know actually much sports talk radio. Actually, all the names that pop to my mind are either like classic radio and like more of the Stern space and like Rush Limbaugh, or like weird alt-right people, because I spend so much time making fun of Alex Jones in my free time that like I think about that. But I actually don't follow that much pure sports media. I'll watch Inside the NBA if I'm watching a Lakers game, because it'll be on after if I don't have anything to do. Like, it's a good background programming, and I really like the show from a production standpoint. I would wonder, like, if I got to play, Kingmaker for a TO, who I would want to put on panels like that, because there's a strong argument for Kyle because of all the things you just said, but then also there's drawbacks thinking from a production side of like, well, if I have too many people like that, is it just going to be like a hard working environment, or like because part of me is like, man, I wish I could have like 7 capitalists. It's probably incredibly easy. No one's going to complain. Everything's going to get done. But then no one's going to really be spicy at the same time.
Yeah,
so like,
the show will not be that interesting.
Everyone will be complacent. They'll be nodding at each other and shaking hands and be like, yeah, that was a great
Everyone
point,
will
sir.
be working really well together. Everyone will be agreeing. If somebody does disagree, they'll be like, oh, I think you're right about this one thing, but here's, it'll be very nice to each other in that regard. No, I try and be spicy when I can, but it's not as authentic, when Kyle does it. But speaking to that, there was actually just recently, it wasn't me. I think I would actually do a very good job in building shows like this, because I've thought about this sort of thing a lot. I've thought about just talent work in general. It's why I try and also help out other casters and stuff and give them criticisms when I can. But it was somebody else. It's actually Blitz, who's in charge of a show that isn't happening yet. But he was basically helping out a tournament organizer. Since he's not talent, he kind of decided who the talent were. So he kind of put the show together. And I was actually not on that list. And we talked about it, and there was absolutely no hard feelings whatsoever. I completely understood where he was coming from, in that the people that there was like 1 or 2 people that they're like, we must have these, and then the rest of the show was kind of built around that. And there were better people to be in that spot than there was for me to make a good enough show, right? And I totally agreed with that. So I think there is definitely a balance that you have to take. You need Kyles and Grants. Like, those are I think they almost don't realize their own worth yet. Kyle, because he's a controversial person, so there's a lot of like Reddit hate that he gets and stuff like that. And then Grant just, I mean, he used to work at Walmart and stuff, right? Like he's a pretty humble guy, and he doesn't really try and ever like push things so much, very much like Slacks. But I think those are two of like the most valuable panel talent members right now, because they can make a show. Granted, sometimes the show becomes more about them than anything else, but you can always rely on them to make entertainment. You know, like I can put like bland talent people, like I'm not going to name names, but like me, let's just say me. I can put bland talent members with Kyle, and they will be good foils for Kyle, you know, and it will work out really well. Same goes with Grant. Like BTS's shows, like they're never paying Grant enough, because I guarantee you, like Grant just makes that show. And I'm there. I'm on the show. I'm like not competing with that. I'm working with that. And, you know, I can tell like Grant just makes it. And, you know, I'm not trying to like, you just recognize what's good and you just go with it, you know? And Grant does that.
I think it's really cool to see any time that the better show prevails over nepotism. I'm always a big fan of that, because I think that, you know, even you just telling me that story, like it's very easy to see someone, not Blitz because he didn't do this, but like anyone else who would just, you know, either pick their friends or pick people who they know they've worked with before, or pick people who they have some kind of social relationship to. And it's not just, you know, I think you see it a lot in esports. You see it a lot in older esports, more specifically, where it was more of the term old boys club was thrown around a lot. But I mean, you can extrapolate that far beyond esports. It's not just like an endemic problem to us. But I think it's really cool just to hear like, oh yeah, you know, like my friend knew that there could have been a better option, and he didn't just pick me because we're friends and there's social pressure. So that's like really nice and refreshing from like a very like 100-yard philosophical stance.
Yeah, I think I mean it's easy to I think be in that position right now, just because I am getting work, so like Blitz doesn't have to worry about me. Like if I needed to put food on the table, then, you know, maybe it would be different. I don't know. But it's like I have not had any sort of shortage of work. I worked ESL 1 LA online. That was a lot of days of work. Then I just worked this charity tournament. I worked that charity tournament, just to be clear with everyone. I did not volunteer. I always feel like a little bit weird about the very, for this tournament it wasn't very much, but whenever you do something like that, there's always the people like thinking like, oh, you know, you're doing such a good thing, and I'm just like, I got paid for this. I didn't volunteer my time. Maybe my rates are a little bit lower because it's a charity tournament. I definitely did not negotiate very well for myself when it came to that charity tournament, because I was like, it's charity, but I definitely got paid.
Yeah, I think a lot of people actually don't realize that a lot of charities, like, you hear the term proceeds to charity, and sometimes proceeds is a very small amount, because they're paying the people who are working on it. They're paying the people who are making it, and that's like, sometimes the proceeds like is after the production company takes their own cut for like just doing the whole production too. Like most of the time on things like this, people are getting paid. Sometimes it's not 100% of their rates, but most of the time like it is. And you'll see successful events that you're like, wow, look at all the money that went to charity, when really if you go back and dig into the finances, it's not the case. And I don't think I'm not saying that like this is the case with the event that just happened in Dota, but just in a more holistic sense. It happens all the time. And it's not like people ever really follow up and do bookkeeping with stuff like this, right? Like it's not like this week, next week, a month from now, people are going to be like, did Gamers Without Borders really send money to those places? Like we don't think about that. We don't follow up. We just assume that all this goodwill happens.
There was that guy who put out the video which I saw you commented on and stuff. That was about the ties between Saudi Arabia and the just fishing for goodwill, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Like I feel a little weird about those things just because it's not that it leads into a different topic of conversation. It's a little bit different when it's coming from a country that's doing it, but the topic of conversation of charity and how much of it is PR.
So much of it. A lot of the time.
So we got into a bit of a tough argument when it came to, do you remember that Drake's music video God's Plan?
Yes, I do.
Okay, and you remember he was giving out money to a lot of people, and he did a lot of good with that money, right? Mm-hmm. That video was obviously very, very successful, and people were like, initially there was, he's doing this really great thing, but there was this natural counter circle jerk that was going on, which was, well, he's just giving away money because it's good publicity, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And I always hate that argument because, again, it's different when it comes to, big geopolitical landscapes and stuff like that. But when it comes to people doing stuff like that, like, there are reasons for doing good things. I always feel like they really shouldn't just be criticized so much. Like, there's always this big counter circle jerk about these sort of things about like, but how much is he getting out of it? If you were true charity, you wouldn't say anything at all. Like, all that sort of thing.
Yeah, it gets really it gets complicated because I understand both sides of the coin. Like, I've been a part of charity events that were, as like a contractor that are very clearly like business PR ploys. And the thing is that those are often still successful because under the veil of charity, everything kind of gets to be made better. And while good is being done, and you shouldn't ignore that net good, a lot of times I feel like in a corporate boardroom, it's like, well, how can we do a good PR thing? Let's do a charity thing. So like, I feel like, at least for me, sometimes I'm skeptical of people with pure intentions when really it doesn't matter as long as, the money and the help is going to the right place. Yeah.
I think the larger scale it is, like when you're talking about countries or we're talking about like corporations and companies and stuff like that group activity, then I feel like maybe the criticism is more warranted. But whenever it comes to people giving away to charity, that argument always comes up of like, if this was truly altruistic, then everyone's gone through philosophy 101 and had that day where they talked about altruism and how there's no true altruism, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Where's
what
Kyle?
about the mother saving her child? I remember the philosophy argument and being like this stupid discussion with a bunch of freshmen in high school for like 30 minutes straight about like, what about the mother saving her child? And there's these instincts that you have, et cetera, et cetera. And like, fucking get me out, like I remember I didn't want to be a part of that conversation, but like at the end of the day, if they're getting a good feeling out of it, if they're getting like 20% of it is for selfish reasons, 80% of it is selfish reasons, well, there's still a 10% or 20% that they were trying to do something good, and they did do something good. So yeah. Like, why are we clowning on that so much?
Yeah, I'm with you. I think that it was all online too. I probably would have been more skeptical of Gamers Without Borders if there were a lot of people who were flying over to Saudi Arabia for like a big thing. Then I'd probably be a little bit more. Then I might send you a message and be like, this is probably a good payday cap. Might be a bad idea, but...
Yeah, let me be clear. For my work for the charity event, that was none of that was altruism. that was 1% altruism and 99% getting paid.
Yeah, that's pretty.
Because if charity's giving away millions of dollars, goddamn, they can give a couple thousand to me. Like.
Yeah, we're charity cases too, right? Like we're millennials in 2020. No one owns a home. Like, give charity. Look at the student debt. We need to walk away from this before people get even more upset between the weird food talk and the semi-political talk. what's something I can make fun of? What's something I can make fun of?
But the point was, there was Dota, there's the charity tournament, and Secret kicked ass there. They 3-0'd Na'Vi, and they're currently kicking ass in Dota Pit. And I assume we're going to see them at ESL 1 Birmingham, where they're probably going to be kicking some more ass. Secret does not stop when it comes to their DPC runs. Even though the DPC is over, as long as it's not TI, Secret dominates.
How much do you think that they're full boot camp practicing in this environment? Like, are they? No, they're just that good. That doesn't matter.
They're just that good. I think that their floor is higher than most teams' ceiling, and as a result, they can just show up and play and be better than most teams. So if they do put in some effort, if they do put in a little bit more time, then they sometimes just crush people. Everyone's kind of in the same playing field. I think all of the teams, or at least most of the teams, I think there are a few exceptions, like, say, the Ninjas of the Pajamas team. They're an exception to this, but I think most of the teams you're seeing are naturally tier 1 or tier 2. All of them in these tournaments have like a pretty good shot of being able to make a TI when there is a TI. And because there is no TI, motivation is low. So as a result, they're all kind of in the same area, which was their floors are higher than the tier 2, tier 3 ceilings, right? Mm-hmm. But they're also not in like full boot camp, like grind it out. We're here to own this tournament mode,
I think that's part of why.
Some effort for sure, but not a ton.
I think we're seeing the teams who are giving effort relative to teams who might be giving less effort are being rewarded. I think that has something to do with Liquid doing so well right now. So well being like a string of third places. But, compared to what they were doing before, like, you're watching their effort pay off. No, I sound like a company man. But it's interesting to see what teams are like taking this time seriously and what teams have to in order to survive and stay competitive versus which teams might not have to and can still just be at home, be safe in quarantine, play Dota, make a paycheck, Yeah.
I think, you look at OG and Secret, both of them are like doing some stuff that is kind of unique. Like, I've been playing 4-position sniper because Secret keeps on running it with the App Store, and for the life of me, I just cannot be convinced by it. I'm just like, this does not seem that good. Why are you guys still running?
What's the theory? What's the theory of how that's supposed to work? What's the theory of how it's supposed to work? Because I feel like that's some dumb shit I would do and enjoy doing it, but not at the level that you're playing Dota, and obviously not at the level Secret's playing Dota.
Okay, so some theories behind it. Headshot is good in lane. It's a really good harassment tool. So you get like boots first, and you just right-click people. When you get levels of shrapnel, level 2, 3, 4, you're able to farm neutral camps really well, which seems to be quite value overall. I haven't exactly delved into the economy of it, but hitting neutral creeps does feel good if you can be pretty efficient about it. Maybe it's just because there's less gold on the map through lane creeps. So therefore you want to take more out of the jungle to make up for that loss. But some of these greedier forward positions that can farm pretty well are really nice. So a sniper can just like at any time stack a hard camp, throw down shrapnel, and farm it really easily. And then he gets Aghanim Scepter. And once you've got Aghanim Scepter, you're actually kind of a hero because you've got a like 600 damage nuke that does like 1.5 second stun at like 3,000 range or something absurd. So yeah.
Do you still
that part's kind of good.
Do you still get like a Hurricane Pike first, or are we getting like an Aghanim very early?
No, you just rush Aghanims.
Wow.
All of these forward positions that I'm spamming right now, Weaver, Techies, and Sniper, they all pretty much rush Aghanims.
I'm seeing you advertise yourself as someone who's playing a lot of Techies, and I'm just like wondering what's up with that, because I feel like that's like intentionally putting a scarlet letter on yourself. Like you're saying, hey everybody, I'm here to probably make some people sad. Do you want to come watch me make some people sad? Maybe come on into the circus. Like, are you just?
I think people are interested in watching Techies. for that is one reason. And I think people are more interested in watching somebody play Techies if they are not spamming Techies for years and years and years, and they're a Techies only player.
Okay,
that feels gross and disgusting. For me, I'm learning Techies because I played it in Dota 1, and maybe I played 1 or 2 games in Dota 2, but ever since I watched Virtus Pro's Zayats and the way he played Techies, he made me interested in the hero. I was like, holy shit, I can play this kind of Techies. This is not a split push, set mines everywhere, wait for them to walk into it. This is an aggressive, team fighting Techies that runs at people. And I'm like, I can play that. That looks fun. That looks exciting. And that is kind of what I'm learning to do. And I think it's pretty fun. It's pretty fun. It's pretty funny, and it's really strong too. So it checks all the boxes right now for me. It is super fun to play right now.
It's like the little bit of ginger or wasabi on your plate of streaming.
Oh yeah.
So you can have like the main course. You can play a bunch of Weaver games. You can be like, hey everybody, I'm doing my role. I'm getting my MMR. And then every now and then you're like, this is a Techies game. And then everyone's like, lol.
I play every single time I play Techies. Something about it just, I stream more for myself. Well, I wouldn't quite say that, but like the way my stream is, it's more about like what I want to do. And something about it really tickles my funny bone, but I like playing Techies and then turning on classical music for whatever reason. Just like, having some Mozart playing in the background while I suicide dive into somebody. And it's just something about it, it just really works for me. So I'm having a lot of fun doing that. And my MMR isn't going up, but it's not going down either. So
man, do you think that we're gonna see a patch now that they talked about the battle pass, or are we just gonna see a battle pass next week?
Dude, I'm sure we're just going to see a battle pass. I am optimistic that we're going to be seeing a patch sometime in the next month or two. But as far as I understand, Val, when it comes to this time, I've heard this almost every single. It's like all hands on deck work on battle pass. They're all just like grinding in hours to get the battle pass put out.
All the Half-Life Alyx people. They're not doing anything anymore. Can't they just be like, hey everybody, come make the hats?
Like. You do a good enough job on this battle pass and it makes enough money that, I'm sure that's somebody's second home in Hawaii that's being made. So they're putting in 80-hour weeks or something,
I guess that's true. I should get it. I want to get invited to the second
Remember,
house
Valve is about the bonuses, man. And battle pass, that's a moneymaker. So I'm sure there are some Valve employees that are getting paid some buco bucks.
I was happy
because the battle pass sold 100 million plus.
I'm very interested in a couple things. First off, I'm interested that they told us it was going to happen. At least from like a subreddit community perspective, I'm glad that we can kind of cull the people who are just going batshit crazy right now over it. Like, it's nice to be like, hey everybody, it's coming, please calm down. I appreciate that. I'm interested in what's going to happen with the Battle Pass in terms of monetary. How is it going to affect this TI or not TI or maybe TI? I want to know what's going on with the money. I'm interested in how long it's going to last for. I'm interested in what they're going to do this year that's different. What are some like key Battle Pass hopes or wishes from you? Like, do you want to just see the same stuff from last year? Was that adequate for you? Was anything shit that you can do away with? I know people didn't like the coaching stuff. What's Capitalist 2020 Battle Pass predictions?
I would like a really good custom game of some sort.
Yeah.
I would like some sort of what are the custom games that I've had the most fun with? There was the one that was in like the tunnels thing. That was one of the more recent ones. Then going way back, there was like Wraith Knight or something like that. I don't even remember. Dire Tide was okay, I guess. Those were actually not as good as I didn't like them as much as people seem to like them. I think people like the drops that they were getting more than anything. But I like any of the survival ones. Those were really fun. I just remember I had this really, like, I had such a fun moment when it was one of those defending like a throne situation as waves come in, and like it was it just come out, and I was playing with a group of friends, and like round 15 shows up, and it was these big spiders, and then you kill the spiders, and like the egg sac explodes, and a bunch of little spiders are everywhere, and we're all just going, oh god, oh what is it, oh god, it's so gross, and that was such a fun moment that I had. So I hope to have something like that again with the battle pass. That would be fun.
Yeah, I liked Underhollow. I don't know, I think people were really polarized by that one. That was the one that was kind of like a fucking Fortnite team, last team standing. What do you call those battle royale games? That
was the one in the tunnels. Yeah, I like that one. That one was interesting.
Siltbreaker, I think, was the one that was the most interesting and unique. That was always fun. I played them a lot of times just to get the emote unlocks. That was my goal. I'm like, dude, I gotta have this emote for chat that I'm never gonna use. So I'm just a sucker who caves into emote pressure. God, what there was Dark Moon. I forget what Dark Moon was.
That was the Chinese New Year one where you at the end you defeated the dragon thing, and you could get like a platinum baby Roshan or something.
I think that was when you defeated the Invoker at the end. There's the other one that was the dragon too. There was a couple of those. Yeah, all that stuff was fun for the most part. So hopefully there is something like that. I'm most curious about what they're gonna do for. I mean, ranked roles was a thing that was in the last Battle Pass, right? And then it just became part of the game. So I don't know if they're gonna do any fun quality of life stuff out of the Battle Pass, or if it's just mostly gonna be hats and game modes. I'd like to see. I guess I'd like to see a game mode too. Fuck, I can't think of much else. I mean, more Chaos Knight items. That would be on my wish list. Fun bounty hunter immortals. That'll be on my wish list.
Good chat wheel lines. It always improves my pubbing experience when there's really good chat wheel lines to spam in game. It's just more fun, man. It's just more fun.
Is this gonna finally be your year?
I don't know. Like part of me hopes that I do get one, but at the same time, like I'm not sure how much I care about it. It'd be nice, but it's no extra money. I'm not getting paid more for it. It's like literally just an ego boost at that point in time. So, like I have like, let me be clear. I have been asked straight up, like, hey, do you have like any voice lines you think would be good? I've been straight up asked that. And I did not put it in anything because I could not think of anything readily. I could have, if I wanted to, like gone back, scoured, put in something, and maybe it would have gone in. But, like I prefer when it comes to all these sort of things, I prefer my work to stand on its own rather than try and like push things, So I would be pleasantly surprised and quite happy if I did have a moment like that people thought was cool enough to go in there, that people enjoyed. But at the same time, like if it wasn't going to happen naturally, then I wouldn't want to have it happen in the first place,
It would be interesting, like you said no one gets paid, which I think everyone knows. But even if they did want to like kick back something to people, like who would actually be the benefactor of that? Because I mean, it's from other people's broadcasts, so you can argue that like the lines were said from a tournament organizer, so maybe ESL has some rights to it, but also like if you're saying Seb's name, like people are buying that. Are they buying that because of LD, or are they buying that because of Seb? So like it gets
as far as I understand, after the first year that they put it in, they have some pretty ironclad Dota TV, if you are running our tournament sort of thing, rules. So
yeah, I'd assume they would. Could you imagine how crazy
that is really locked on? Because I know that was a little bit of a controversy for the very first time they put it in. Because at least one of their lines was made not inside of a DPC event at all. So I'm betting there were some kickbacks for that. Just to kind of like put the whole kibosh and just sweep that under the rug sort of thing. But nowadays, as far as I understand, it's pretty ironclad.
Because I guess it all like, I'm sure there's contracts. I'm sure people would never want to complain about it, or at least publicly, or even think about legal action. But you could realistically make the argument that people are giving Valve money and they're making money off of someone else's creative content that they like wishy-washy have the rights to. You're making like people, if people want to spend $2,000 to get the longest Seb possible, then like it might not be Valve who's making that money. They're doing it for the lines, right? So it is a very interesting. It's probably not a legal gray area. I'm not a lawyer. It's probably ironclad contracts, but in theory, it's interesting.
Yeah. No, I think it's more than anything. I think the chat wheel is a good bump in your brand, and it also demonstrates in a somewhat clear way some monetary value that you have to Valve, right? Mm-hmm. Because as talent working under Valve, it is sometimes hard to be able to demonstrate your value, right? Because if you take any of us away, the show will go on, and the show will probably not suffer a noticeable number of viewers, right? Maybe the community will complain, but do you lose any money from that? Not really.
No,
probably not.
Probably not. Yeah.
Like people could, people always make the argument like, oh, well, like if Owen wasn't doing the grand finals and you wouldn't have that Seb, you would have something else.
Yeah.
And maybe it wouldn't be quite as good, but people would still be watching.
People would still be excited.
There would still be eyeballs. People would still be excited. People, so it's hard as a commentator and especially as panel to be able to demonstrate your value. I think we talked about this before. Panel, it's particularly hard because if you were just to follow the metrics, panel is the thing that people care the least about because they just watched a 50-minute game. They're not watching the stream right now.
They gotta go potty.
They gotta go to the bathroom, and they're like, "Oh, finally, okay. Like, I gotta do my homework now. Or I gotta go, get the kids from school or something. Like, I'm already late. They stayed till the end of the game, and then they left. So as panel, your value is very hard to demonstrate because all you're doing is retaining viewers. It's more about retention. That's what panel does. That's what good panel does. Is that it keeps viewers in their seats rather than having them walk away.
Be the glue.
But either way, you're going to be losing people, right? So it's very hard to demonstrate like what a good panel does numbers-wise versus a bad panel. So even though like every viewer and stuff, like they'll have all of their opinions about it, the numbers aren't there to really support it. So, yeah. So when it comes to chat wheel, right? If you just have like a very direct, like, here's how many people are using this chat. Like this chat wheel command is really popular. It's big with the community. People are actively paying money to be able to get to something like that. It has value.
Yeah, that's true. I agree with all that. Can I break up the conversation real quick to toss to you for a little self-promotion break? Hear me out. I'm not even going to edit this. Like, we're just going to roll into it. It's going to save me like 15 to 20 minutes later. It's going to be great. You don't have to record it after. Like, I'm just going to I'm going to throw up the ball.
And I thought boom. Joey could get no lazier. All right, thank you for watching this.
I am not lazy. I'm a lot of things, and I'm not lazy.
I know, I'm just giving you shit. Thank you for watching the Side Pole Podcast. We're going to continue with our stupid-ass show. But if you guys are enjoying this, please follow us on all the podcast mediums, and then you can also watch us on YouTube. If you rate us, it'd be really good. And if you do rate us, if you rate us 5 stars and you leave a comment, then we will actually read it on the show, and Joey will send you some shiny stuff, some digital shiny stuff, and it's really cool. Do we have one for this week?
No, because this week at the end of the show we have another voicemail that we're going to play and talk about. So we're playing around both of them. If you do want to call into the show, that number is 805-328-4024, and we will go ahead and play that voicemail live and then talk about it a little bit. We're doing both those and reading the Apple reviews because they do help the show grow. Like, we can see direct metric growth, which is cool because we like it when numbers go up. It makes our egos feel better. And so any of those things, if you want to call in, do that. If you want to leave us a review on Apple, do that. It helps.
Please call in. If you are just thinking about calling in, please do so. Even if you're not sure you're going to say something stupid, go for it anyway, man.
We're a couple weeks away from realizing the segment doesn't work and then canning it. So this could be your only opportunity to ever do it. And the probability of calling to being on the show is remarkably high right now. So just throwing it out there. We're learning.
How many voicemails have you gotten, Joey?
We'll talk about it later. We'll talk about it at the end.
Oh, okay. Because I definitely, at the end of my stream last night, was like, all right, guys. I just spammed the number in chat, and I was like, please. I do this podcast. Please call in. Say something.
We got one.
Nice. I know who that one was, too.
Anywho. Okay. Now clap. Ad break over.
Clap.
Don't edit.
Nice.
We were talking about Dota, right? Look at that. Such a natural transition. I'm such a good editor. Look at that. It's like people we went in and out of a whole segment and people didn't even know. People are still listening. They're engaged. I know that someone right now is on a jog. Someone's jogging right now through a residential neighborhood and they're like, you know what? That wasn't a bad ad break. And you, Jeremy, that was for you. Can I touch on one more thing before we wrap up? Actually, I lied. I want to touch on two more things, but one of them I want to do really quickly. Do you have any, at all, opinions about the second Evil Geniuses rebranding? Because I suspect that you don't really.
No, I don't. I don't. Like, companies do rebranding all the time. I get why they wanted to dispose of the old one. They got a new one. It's okay. It's not that bad.
Yeah, I feel that way too. I think I more so. I was happy that they went to a version of their older logo. I think that it fits better than what they were trying to do. I'm happy that they pivoted and they listened to people. I think they didn't really have a choice, which is the unfortunate part. Like, it's crazy how much power community has at this point to like cancel and be mean to people and harass people about it. I'm sure that even if they wanted to stick to the logo, they didn't want to be harassed for the next years to come, right? So better to just cave into it and not have to deal with the headache, right? The thing that made me laugh the most is that when they posted the new logo, and I should pull it up, they like explained all the parts of the logo, and I'm like, this feels cool in theory, right? Like there's some art here, there's some explanation. It makes the whole announcement meatier to be able to kind of give some information, but at the same time, I can't believe that their whole team, this multi-million-dollar team that has capital investment, no one read the stuff that was posted on the graphic and was like, dude, people are gonna make fun of us for this. Or if they did and they just embraced it. Like, I just wish that I can be a part of these meetings in a fly on the wall scenario where people weigh the pros and cons of like letting people clown on them versus thinking something's a good idea. Because we on this show just choose to let people clown on us if they want to because we don't care very much. Like that's almost part of the brand and the fun. We don't have to worry about like being shitty, or if we get maybe too crazy, we can edit something out, right? Like it's we don't have to worry too much about it when doing our show. We're also not a multi-million-dollar worldwide team, but it's just interesting to me how different identities handle this stuff. So my favorite part about the EG logo is when they added the serifs on it. Is the quote on the image was, "Two sharp serifs at the head and tail of the monogram to signify our voice of innovation and risk-taking." They fucking changed the vector on their logo, put 2 little spikes on it, and they're like, this is our voice of innovation and risk-taking. And I'm like, how many people... Phil, you're not listening to this, Phil. What? You don't actually believe that. This is some fucking PR bullshit. The circular shape provides... The circular shape provides representation to one of our core values, inclusivity, while achieving a modern and functional design. Cool. I get it. Like, I get it. I understand where this is coming from. But, like, you don't want to be bullied on the internet, do you? And I want to bully you. I want to bully you right now. I'm so happy you changed your logo. I like your new logo. It reads better on Wikipedia. It's better on the jerseys, even if the jerseys look like the liquid ones. You guys get a little more creative, surely, whatever. I don't have to talk about that. I have no horse in that race. But why put out this? Just give us the logo. Talk about the different points without making it sound like you hired some fucking expensive ad agency to make you sound like nice to boomers. Like no one is reading this that doesn't think it's a joke.
Where is the I remember there was a piece about a nod to our past with a look to the future or something like that.
The new crest maintains a strong connection to the past logo, the iconic monogram, synonymous with esports legacy and world-class performance. The outer bezel has been removed to allow for a bolder, and cleaner look. It's the serif ones that gets me. It's our voice of innovation and risk taking is the one that I read, and I'm like, guys,
innovation and risk taking.
Phil, I don't know you. I don't know you at all, Phil. We've never talked, but like, dude, did you laugh at this?
I definitely. I remember looking at it and just kind of like briefly skimming over and just rolling my eyes. And like, whatever. It's your new logo. Cool, I guess. It's, yeah. The one thing that I actually, the biggest thing that I had an opinion on was, obviously a lot of people made fun of it, and so did some various other team owner Twitters. Right, and Secret did their own thing, et cetera, and they all did their own thing, and all of this was ending up on Reddit because people are laughing on both sides and haha, look at Secret memeing on EG, now OG's memeing on Secret, and I go into the comment section. I remember Phil had this nice rebuttal that was like it was a nice little bit of flame. I thought it was pretty good, and. This Reddit thread shows up, and it's something about Phil's super salty or something like that. And I go through the comments, and all it is, I was so close to like screenshotting and like putting all of the different comments together in just like one big page, but all it was people constantly complaining, going back and forth, talking about how Reddit is so biased towards X or biased against Y, and like everyone is arguing that it's everyone's NA. No, it's all Europe here. They're a bunch of OG dick sucking fanboys, etc. And I'm just sitting there, and it's like this bit of Schadenfreude, like if only I could just actually see these people commenting, and I'm just like, you stupid motherfuckers. You don't realize what's going on here, do you? All of you dumbasses that are talking about, Reddit's so biased about this. You're the same people that tell me as a commentator that I'm so biased towards XYZ team that, he just loves sucking that no-tail dick, like all that kind of shit. And then have like, I say something about, Reddit's so stupid. And they respond, well, Reddit isn't one person. They're the same people now having this argument in this Reddit thread about how Reddit is so NA biased. No, it's so European biased. You're all so stupid. You obviously are a fanboy of a team. Just embrace that. And stop calling other people biased. You're all stupid.
I normally don't call this out in the middle of the show, but I think it all the time when I hear it. Production note, that's going at the top.
I just like, that is the one thing that like Blitz and I remember when we did the interview with Blitz, and he said the thing that I really don't get, that really bothers me, is when people hate me for a reason I don't understand, like they don't know me, or et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
So if
I
you
don't
just
think that part
fundamentally,
I don't think that part actually made it into the episode everyone else heard, because half the recording died. But that was part what we talked about, at least.
yeah. And like, so that's what Blitz really did not enjoy about Talon. It's something that like it also bothers me. I totally understand if you don't like me for various reasons. Like, I joined Dota, I got clowned on all the time because, you know, people just thought I looked douchey and I wasn't Toby and that sort of thing. Like, I understand disliking me, even so far as something as shallow as like, you just don't like the way I look. Like, you know what? Like, I get that. It happens. You know, that guy has a punchable face. I get it. You want to punch me in the face. I totally get that. But it's the completely nonsensical criticisms where you don't know me as a person, and that is one of them. The bias thing, you know, that always bothers me. Like, people are just like, oh, he's so biased. That's like, I know I'm not, because why would I possibly care who wins? They're all fucking millionaires. You think I give a shit if Puppy has an extra $3 million compared to No Tail? You think I care?
No.
I'm over here. I'm over here like making 100 times less their money. You know, like, you think I give a shit which one of these big boys takes home the big enchilada? I don't give a shit. You know,
you just like the game.
Why would you possibly think that I care? All I'm doing is presenting the story of the game as it occurs to me. I don't really give a shit who wins. Evil geniuses, because I'm North America, I could give a fuck. More than anything, I just don't like casting EG games because I'm NA. So therefore, there's going to be a bunch of, you know, Europeans who are like, every time he says something good about EG, they're going to be like, oh, see, the NA bias. He's American. He's voting for the Americans. Like,
one thing
I'm not friends with anybody on EG, barring like maybe Arteezy from a distance. I don't give a shit if he wins.
The one thing that I can talk eloquently on in regards to your rant, which might be a boring point, the one thing I have expertise on, people talk about Reddit bias a lot. There's more people who visit our Dota 2 from Europe than NA. Like, we have the numbers, we have the math. It might pertain to a lot of the time of day that you're looking at the website, but if you're purely looking at like traffic from different regions, you can construe that there is more of an EU bias based on traffic. Unless there's a lot of EU fans who are just big NA fanboys and hate Europe, then maybe the numbers get skewed. But the math is very clearly in the favor of Europe, which is interesting because you hear people be like, Reddit's so NA biased, Reddit loves EG and TL, and even though TL's a EU team, or they like, oh, fucking whatever. It's a predominantly Europe website for us in the Dota 2 space. Anywho, side rant.
You know, Joey, this is my shocked face. I'm shocked you're telling me that. I'm I can't believe it, Joey. Is my acting skills really coming through right now, Joey? I just cannot believe you're telling me this, that Reddit is primarily European, telling me that I'm a biased American. Just cannot believe it. Flabbergasted.
I'd like to note,
utterly shocked.
I'd like to note for the audience listening in audio form who cannot see Capitalist Shock Face, 1, there's a video version of the podcast you can watch on YouTube if you look it up. 2, he was doing a face that was like he was acting like he was shocked and kind of putting his hands on his non-existent hair, but also clearly
all the
was
while
not
smirking smugly, because I know all of you stupid people who call me NA biased are just Europeans and European bias. Just like the dumb Americans when I'm enjoying Dota, they're like, oh, they only jerk out the European teams. You think I wasn't on the other side of that? I've been on both sides of the aisle. People had a reason to think I was biased towards some team just because I was based around some area geographically. Dog, this is my career. I treat it with some goddamn professionalism. You think I let personal ties get in the way of my job?
Dude,
Except liquid. Except liquid, because, I really want them to get a W.
I should note that I'm highly biased towards liquid. They pay my rent.
Yeah.
All of your acting convinced me is that I thought it would be a really fun idea. We should go. We should like grab Charlie and someone else who's like a clown and go do like an improv class in a post-Corona world. I think that we might have. I think that we might have a fun time with that.
That is on my short list of. I need to take a lot of improv classes. That is on my to-do list, both for help with voice acting, but I know it'd be really good for panel work in general. I've taken various classes, but I haven't taken anything specifically for improv for a longer period of time. So
yeah, I think that
has been on my to-do list.
I think we both exist in worlds where like we have kind of gained some skills that exist in that world through like either shows we've done or worked on, or obviously like panel stuff and casting, and even just like being on a live stream. But I think it's very important for people to kind of get to understand those basics in terms of entertainment.
Yeah. It's our jobs, right? You should always be working to get better at your job.
Yeah. I think if you're not, then you're complacent, and then that gets sad because, for a bunch of reasons. There's I said two things to talk about, and the first one did take longer than I thought I was going to, so now we might be going long. But while this is still even the slightest bit fresh, I'm interested if you have any opinions about all of the Newbee news.
Sadly, Joey, that is another piece of news that I have no opinion on. I would love to be able to get up on Kyle and, I'll get up on my soapbox right now and talk about how the circus is in town and to kick these clowns out of here and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But I don't know. I'm definitely, let's put it this way, Joey. I'm definitely not taking any of the Chinese organization's word for it. Let's put it that way. I'll wait until I'll wait until Valve steps in and says something before I really feel one way or another about it. But Ace has been corrupt and dumb as fuck, and I don't know what organization. It wasn't them that made this ruling. I feel like it's possible, maybe even likely. I think it was like their junior team or something like that. I don't remember, but either way, it's I'm just waiting for Valve to say something about it. But I'm sure they're all grinding the battle pass right now because they look at Newbee like cheating and shit, and they're just like, "Will this make us money?" And they're like, "No, it won't make us money. Keep working on the battle pass." Yeah.
I think it's interesting, not for the reasons that I think people have already talked about or seen. I was very interested in how quickly it seemed to make its way through the news cycle, and now people aren't even really making jokes about it or talking about it. It feels like an event that took place over 48 hours maybe, and it wasn't that big to begin with, and then it's just like a thing in the past. And I don't know if that's a testament to like Newbee being a team that's not serious anymore, or a testament to the Western audience not caring too much. But, you hear stuff like, how long was Arrow in the zeitgeist? How many people still talk about and joke about 322 stuff, right? Like, I think that this is a thing that's kind of, how many people, like, if you go to other places, still focus on the Counter-Strike I Buy Power stuff, right? Like, it is normally something that once it reaches a certain magnitude, a certain level, that just has this crazy staying power in people's minds. But I feel like that isn't the case here, and I'm trying to figure out why. I don't know why it seems to have blown over, I guess, to say. I don't know why it feels like it's blown over so quickly.
I think a number of reasons. First of all, it's Chinese team, so naturally less like Westerners just don't care that much. Second of all, like there's only one person on that entire squad that anybody would really give a shit about if you're focused on tier 1 Dota, because Newbee hasn't been tier 1 Dota for a long time, and that's Faith. And Faith hasn't been tier 1 for quite some time. So he's the only reason that it's interesting at all, because otherwise it would just be, okay, this org of a very shitty team got disqualified. Well, yeah, of course they were cheating because they're pretty shit, and so they can't win. So they got to make money some way. that would be the end of it. It would just be like, all right, whatever. The only reason it's really big is because it's the organization Newbee, but they'll drop that team. I'm sure they'll. I don't know how they're gonna get around this situation because as far as I understand, this their ban follows their organization as well as the players. So I have no idea how that's gonna work, but yeah. Also, like, what memes are there to be made of it? It's like that nobody watched that match in the first place against a Vangirl, whatever that name is, whatever that team is.
Yeah,
like,
you're right.
I certainly wasn't watching that shit show. I wasn't watching Newbee. They're garbage. And I'm certainly not watching Newbee versus some tier 3 team. That sounds terrible. I don't want to watch that. There's way too much good Dota out there to be watching. Why would you watch bad Dota? So it's no memes to be made out of it. So it has no staying power. And that and uncertainty, right? It's not a whole lot to know.
I mean, I don't think uncertainty's ever stopped people from drama before. But
True.
I think you kind of hit the nail on that.
So let's stick with the lack of memes. The lack of memes. That's a solid point.
Man, that's what our society's come to. Like, in order to stay in the zeitgeist, you just have to be memeable. What a sad existence we've deteriorated into. I think on that super fun note. Okay, what? You're laughing at something, and I'm just curious what it is at this point. Does the map of the world behind you have pins in it for all the countries you've casted in?
Yes, it does. It does. It was something Ellie got me for my birthday last year. It's very nice. I was gonna make a does the tree falls in a forest and nobody's there to hear it? Does it really happen? But I was gonna mix that with like Ziori, and then that was like it's too much.
I can't let you get away with if a tree falls in the forest and no one is around to hear it. Like, I think that's like 20% of the saying, if that too.
Whatever, man. I was gonna mix that saying with popular scandals, and I couldn't help but laugh. But I didn't want to make that joke. So.
We tried, and now we lived on it for too long.
I'm trying to be nice.
So let's something. I don't even know what's there anymore. We should play this voicemail that we said we were going to do in the middle part of the show, which is so elegantly dropped in there with my expert editing, and then make a call again for any more voicemails and see if we keep on doing this experiment or not. But we did get one more, and I want to share with you. I feel bad. Last episode for our very first voicemail, I didn't actually share it with you because I realized it was 2 a.m. and I had to finish editing the show before it got released, so I just did it myself. So you never really got to participate. So I feel like here's a good opportunity. Oh, you saw? Well, thank you for seeing, because that means... let me go ahead. I'll put the voicemail right here.
Hey, this is Gimpy Joe from Texas calling back. This time I'm wondering what y'all think about the A cut versus the B cut for avocados. So if you're holding an avocado in your hand with the stem pointing up to the ceiling and you cut straight up and down, that's your classic A cut. It looks like you see in the commercials. A B cut is horizontal. And I can't figure out why some of my friends insist that the B cut is superior. They say something about if you're only going to eat half of it, you get less browning, you can wrap it up. Anyway, I'm a little biased, as you can tell. Just wondering what y'all thought about cutting avocados. Bye.
God bless you, Gimpy Joe. God bless you. He's a mod on my stream, and he makes me listen to some wild ass music. Do you care about avocados that much, Joey? Are you a big avocado fan?
I can't possibly go 3 topics in a row with you, with your response being, I don't have a strong opinion about it, but I have a sneaking fucking suspicion, Cap. I have the slightest bit of insight that I think that you also, much like logo rebrands and match fixing in China, don't have strong opinions about avocados. So let me step in here and
say... Are you noticing a pattern? When I ask the question, it's because I don't care that much. I don't have a strong opinion, therefore I ask somebody else. That's a panel trick.
As a goddamn, that's actually a very good piece of advice. If to stop down, it's a very good piece of advice. As a goddamn native Californian, where all of your avocados are coming from, I have strong opinions about avocados. I got strong opinions about guacamole. I got strong opinions about where they're grown, about which ones to pick, about when you can eat them, how much brown's acceptable, and the mere idea of watching someone cut an avocado the B way. To cut it like you're going across the waist and you're separating it into two like you're some kind of goddamn samurai with a sword and just bifurcating someone is so incredibly appalling to me. I would watch that person and I would probably be awestruck. Like, I don't think I would in the moment have any words because I'd be so morbidly interested in what they're doing being so incredibly wrong that I couldn't even muster words aside from just heavy breathing and an agape jaw. There's no world in which you cut the avocado top half, little half instead of through the side. You're telling
Joey.
me what?
My mother cuts avocados that way.
What? Why? There's no reason for this?
Okay, so I had no idea what Gimpy Joe was talking about. I was like, A cut, B cut. I even put in A cut, B cut avocado, and nothing came up. I was like, what the hell? And so I just looked up the two different ways to cut an avocado because I have in my head like that everyone sees it like it's just natural to see it with the A, right?
Yeah.
Because that's how it is in all commercials and stuff like that. And I was like, what does the B cut look like? And I saw it and I was like, oh, my mom cuts the avocado that way. And what Gimpy Joe said was true. Okay, so first of all, you cut around horizontally, right? And what you do is you squeeze the bottom a bit, and then once you squeeze it enough, you can actually get the pit to come straight out. And then you keep squeezing it, and you can actually separate the peel from the actual fruit. So, so from there, you can actually save the other half. Much easier, right? Because there is very little surface area at that point in time. So it's going to stay fresh longer.
I have
Ta-da.
more questions for someone who is eating half of an avocado. Like, how much are you saving? If you're using an avocado as an ingredient, use all of it. If you're using the avocado as a snack, then eat the other half of it in some kind of timely manner that doesn't require some weird fucking avocado process to save. If you're like, imagine having like, ah, man, I want some avocado on my toast. I'm a millennial. I probably don't own a house. Let me just have half of the avocado because I'm so poor that I can't. It's so wrong and broken in my head.
What if you want that avocado toast the next morning?
What?
You're going to have avocado toast for dinner too?
Have 2 avocados. Have another avocado. You don't, like, what kind of avocado rationing are you doing? You're not buying $30 avocados. Like, just eat the avocado.
I don't know, dog. A whole avocado to be used for avocado toast? That sounds like way too much avocado.
That's fine.
That's a thick amount of avocado. You're offsetting the nice blend between the crunchy bread and the nice softness of the avocado on top. You get too much of that, then it's overwhelming.
When is the
then
last
it just
time?
becomes the big fluffy mess.
When's the last time you've cut an avocado, Cap?
Never.
Yeah, okay. So let me tell you, as a person who cuts avocados, how to do it. My opinion is clearly right and superior. Man, I didn't even touch on the point that if you're holding the avocado in the palm of your hand and cutting it, you're also an idiot. You're going to cut yourself. Have some type of knife safety, please.
Wait, you just put it down on a cutting board, and you just cut
across. That's not what Joe was saying. He's like holding the palm of your hand. No,
well, you know,
have some knife safety, my dude. You're gonna slit yourself. I have a very vivid memory of being in 3rd grade where someone was trying to cut an avocado in a classroom for a science experiment with scissors because we didn't have enough knives, and they were holding the avocado the way you're supposed to, up and down to the palm of your hand, and then started slicing it with scissors. And I think at that point in my life, I've never seen so much blood as the avocado slipped and then they scissored the entire palm of their hand.
Oof. You know, I've actually got a funny story about that. I have a similar injury. I have a scar still on my wrist area where my thumb connects, and it was when I was doing. So my family owns, like, what they do is they take houses, houses that have been auctioned off and stuff like that because of bankruptcy and things like that. And they take them and they remodel them and then they rent them out. So I had a lot of work as a kid doing a lot of construction work and stuff like that. And when I was, I think about like 18, 19, I was working on a house. And I was definitely cutting the wrong direction because it was like, there was something awkward about it, whatever I was cutting. And it was, the blade went into my wrist area.
Oh,
And
that's fucking dangerous, dude.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I was very lucky that I didn't cut anything like important. It's actually like if you feel like the wrist thumb area on the side, and you feel like there's a gap between like the two kind of bones there, that's exactly where the blade went in. That kind of gap. So I got very lucky in that regard. And it just on like an instant reaction, right? I just like the reaction of like, oh, I fucked up. I did something bad. Undo. I pull it out right away, and the blood just comes gushing out. Now, as a kid or something, like when you cut yourself anytime, like what's one of the first reactions?
You put the cut in your mouth and start drinking your own blood, right? Am I?
Yes, that is exactly what you do, right? And there is actually a scientific reason for that. Your saliva does help close the wound, apparently. Even if it's not even if it's not the cleanest thing, it does actually help close the wound. That was my instant reaction. But obviously this wound was far too large to do something like that. So in the space of like 3 seconds, I go, oh fuck, pull it out, blood comes gushing out. I'm like, oh shit, blood. And I go and I put the wound to my mouth. And all this blood obviously gets all over my mouth. And my cousin, who was like 9 months older than me, we're working together on this house. He rounds the corner and he sees me, blood all over my face, wrist to my mouth, like I'm some sort of fucking vampire who's just like sucking on his own blood. And he's just like, I remember this look on his face. He just looks at me all wide-eyed, and he's just like, what happened? In which case I explained that I stuck a blade into my wrist and that I needed to go to the hospital and get stitches.
Oh, dude.
So I went to the hospital and I still had blood stained all over my mouth.
You're fucking lucky that you didn't like cut your wrist and do a 13 Reasons Why. Otherwise, this podcast wouldn't happen. Like, Jesus.
Good times.
I watched my dad when we were building something in the backyard use a pneumatic staple gun to drive a staple through his hand. And that's the queasiest I've ever been. Yeah, that story's much less eloquent than yours that you just told. But normally I'm fine with blood. I'm fine with blood. I'm fine with organs. I can watch surgery. Beating hearts kind of freak me out, but that's the only thing that kind of gets me woozy. Oh, I really don't like eye stuff. Like eye horn eye surgery, I find it excruciating. But my dad just has his hands gunned to this wall, and he's like, you have to help me get this out. And I'm like, what the fuck do you want me to do? I don't even, what do I do? Do I take your wrist and help you pull? Do I help you brace yourself? Do you want me to go get something you can bite on as you just he's like, no, can you just grab the needle nose pliers that are sitting beside us and loosen the nail a little bit? Because this is also his right hand. So he's his dominant hand is stuck and he's doesn't feel comfortable with his left hand, trying to pull this nail out. So Here I am, like 11-year-old Joey outside in the backyard, the sun setting. My dad is screaming so many expletives that the neighbors probably think there's a murder going on. And he's like, yeah, son, can you just grab the pliers and pull this nail out of my hand and the wood? And I'm looking at him like, what? And he's like, hey, dipshit, my hand is still stuck. Like, do you mind stop being shocked about this and just get it over with? And he was so, like, candid. I remember, like, he wasn't panicked. He was very calm, aside from all the screaming and expletives. But he's like, yeah, just, like, pull it out. Like, it was nothing. And I'm just like, oh, okay. I had more of a problem with it than he did. So
it's something about those situations, like, I know exactly what that feeling is like. The adrenaline starts going, and it becomes everything about, like, whatever it takes to get what needs to be done right now. It's you just get like this weirdly calm, like, you need to do this right now.
Exactly. It's like, well, time to break my limb back into place, or time to just, dude, that was so gnarly. I'll never. Like, that's one of probably, like, the 50, like, most seared in memories I have of my father. Like, I'll live the rest of my life thinking about the time that I pulled the nail out of his hand.
All right. We've talked about 2 different queasy injuries, so I won't talk about the other story I have. But for next time, I have a story about a big wooden, a big piece of wood that got stuck in my foot. I'll talk about that story, because that is another one of those queasy, like, willy ones.
This is a twofer, because you'll remind me about my story with metal and a foot. So
all right,
give something people to look forward to.
Yes, yeah. This is our new closing segment.
Until next
Queasy
week,
injuries with Joey and Cap.
And God, the amount of people that we were able to off-put on this episode is might be a new all-time high between politics, queasy injuries, and whatever the fuck else we started with. The food.
It's like every show.
They're done. They're done. We're supposed to be growing this, and we're doing a job to actively harm it. We're bad at what we do.
It's like every episode, it's like we made a mission to, like, drive as many people away as possible.
It's like, hey, thanks for listening. Thanks for listening. I really appreciate your time and your ears and your support. Please tell a friend. Also, fuck off and unfollow us. Like, God damn it, we're bad at this. If you want to leave a voicemail, which can start off about avocados and then end in personal horrific body injury, the phone number is 805-328-4024. Please call. No one else has aside from Capitalist Mods, and we might realize this doesn't work. We'll figure it out later. I'm still trying. I'm really hoping for more nuggets, because clearly the story inspired a lot of heated talk. So, you know, it worked. I appreciate it. But I mean, I don't like to call it. If I was listening right now, I'd probably be like, fuck that. But if you're one of those people who don't think fuck that, just do it. Maybe we'll make fun of you. But until next week, when we talk about our feats and have a guest on, I think probably maybe, not going to promise who it is, because last time we did that, that person's still coming, by the way, in case you were curious. Soon, I think. Yeah, I'm going to stop talking. We should cut it. We should get out.